So if we look at conventional generator operation, as it's explained in physics terms, we see that Lenz's law of induction explains why and how generator armature reaction is created in a generator and what the effects are. So what I'll do is I will compare conventional generator armature reaction to ReGenX generator armature reaction. So Lenz's law of induction says that an induced EMF voltage will cause a current to flow in a closed circuit in such a direction that its magnetic effect, induced armature reaction, counter electromotive torque, will oppose the change that produces it. Faraday's law, an EMF is a time-varying magnetic field, and Lenz's law is denoted by the minus sign in front of Faraday's law here. So the law of conservation of energy, as it applies to conventional generators, states that this law follows directly from the law of conservation of energy, that is, to cause an induced current to flow requires the expenditure of energy. In the case of generators, when a current flows from the generator to the load, electric energy is expended in the load. The magnetic field produced by the current is always in a direction so that it reacts with the main generator field to oppose the turning action of the prime mover driving the generator. Thus, the greater the energy supplied to the load, the greater the reaction, and in turn, the greater the mechanical energy required from the prime mover. Mechanical energy must be supplied to the generator at the same rate by the prime mover that it is being taken from the generator to the loads. So Lenz's law is essentially Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The ReGenX generator hopefully you can see that with the light, okay. The ReGenX generator, if we look at, again, if we go back to Faraday's law, Lenz's law, Newton's third law, is expressed with the minus sign in front of the EMF. So the ReGenX generator, in the EV prototype that we're currently demonstrating, replaces the minus sign in front of Faraday's law with a plus sign. And the explanation varies accordingly. The explanation of performance varies accordingly. In a ReGenX generator, an induced voltage will cause a current to flow in a load, will cause a current to flow to a load in such a direction that its magnetic effect, induced armature reaction, will be of a complementary electromotive torque that will assist the change that produces it, or the electromotive force will be absent. The magnetic effect produced by the ReGenX generator's current is always in a direction to assist the turning action of the prime mover. Thus, the greater the energy supplied to the load, the greater the reaction, and in turn, the less mechanical energy is required to be supplied by the prime mover. The ReGenX generator employs a 45 to 70 degree load current delay, which delays the ReGenX generator coil's induced magnetic field in a salient pole configuration such that the load current sine wave crest occurs after the rotor's magnetic field has already passed the coil's core at top dead center. This load current delay, the net effect, causes the induced repelling magnetic field to repel the same polarity rotor magnetic field away from the coil's core while attracting the opposite rotor, now coming into position. So essentially, the ReGenX generator's load current delay reverses the Lenz's law effect for generators. So if we look at the load current for a conventional coil, the load current sine wave, we can see that, or we understand that from t equals 0 to top dead center, where the rotating magnetic field is as close as it's going to get to the coil's core, the current flowing, the load current, is always producing a resistive magnetic field which opposes the rotation of the generator, or opposes the rotation of the prime mover. When the rotor's magnetic field passes the coil at top dead center, the current changes direction, and the induced magnetic field from the conventional generator coil opposes the rotor magnetic field, the rotor's departure from the coil. So the conventional generator coil is opposing on approach and opposing on departure. When the ReGenX generator is operating above the critical minimum frequency, which means it's operating in ReGenX mode, the load current is delayed by about 70 degrees. So what that means is from t equals, well, from this point here to top dead center, there's a small amount of Lenz effect or resistance as applied to the prime mover by the generator. However, once the rotor's magnetic field has moved past the ReGenX generator coil's core, the ReGenX generator coil is still producing the repelling magnetic field, which now is assisting in the rotor's magnetic field's departure from the coil. What I'll be doing in the ReGenX generator video is I will be operating the ReGenX generator coil below the critical minimum frequency. The critical minimum frequency is the frequency of operation of the ReGenX coil, whereby the coil's impedance is low enough to allow current to flow. If the frequency is low enough, the total impedance of the coil is low enough, and load current can flow in the coil, and conventional generator armature reaction is produced. When the ReGenX coil is operated above the critical minimum frequency, the impedance, the net impedance of the ReGenX coil is too high to allow current to flow, and the load current delay is manifested, and the coil begins to operate in regenerative acceleration mode.